Good evening. Hello. There, that's the Welsh Government's bilingual requirement covered. Thank you very much for coming here this evening. I'm so pleased you could be at the library. Of course, I realise you probably only popped in to return a trollop, and then somebody from Age Concern grabbed you down by the Terry Pratchett's, but thank you for being here anyway. My name is Ruth Shade. Shade as in lamp. And the first thing I'm going to ask you to do is I'm going to ask you to help me. Would you help me, please? I need help desperately. What I'm going to ask you to do is to put your hands up when I ask you a few simple questions. And the first question is this. Ladies and gentlemen, could you put your hands up if you have ever, at any point in your lives, been to secondary school? That includes Borstal or youth offenders units. Don't be shy, don't be ashamed, we shan't judge. Hands up, those of you who've been to a secondary school. Come on, get those hands up! Excellent! I don't think I said you could put your hands down. Thank you, hands down. Second question. Hands up all those of you who were at some point taught by a supply teacher. Hands up those of you, supply teacher, hands up now. Oh, well done, you did that beautifully. You've been taught by a supply teacher. Did she look like me? Oh, thank you very much, put your hands down. Yes, indeed, ladies and gentlemen, I have been a teacher. And earlier, I have a detention book. And early this year, I realised that there was something missing in my life. Money. And I thought to myself, now, what can I do that will give me the opportunity to be routinely insulted, humiliated, and harangued for money? Because I get all of that anyway, because I'm married. And then it hit me like a well-aimed board rubber. I thought, yes, I shall go back into teaching. And that is why I have been indulging in a spot of what I call educational tourism, but what you know as supply teaching. I am a sub, or substandard, as most schools regard us. Oh, yes. Supply teachers are about as welcome as hemorrhoids. Teachers tend to regard us as though we've just been released from a lengthy prison sentence for international dealing in illegal highlighter pens. Pupils resent us because we don't know how to pronounce their names. And by the way, what's with this fashion for giving children peculiar and unusual names? Why is it that parents seem to think that they can afflict a child with a name that has been invented by combining a brand of paint stripper with an item of camping equipment? Yes, latrine nitromors parry. I am thinking of you. Would that your parents had. But I digress. Now, for you, those of you who don't know, how supply teaching works is that you get up very early in the morning and you wait for the call. And the call usually comes so late that you have to drive at speeds that would show Monaco Grand Prix at its best advantage. The way I drive, I make Michael Schumacher look like a 90-year-old in a Nissan Cherry. So what I do is I get up very early in the morning and I dress very smartly, because most schools have a strict dress code. I know of head teachers who regard a morning suit as casual wear. And then I get myself smartly dressed and I wait for the call. Now, the other week I was ready, but I had a last-minute difficulty with the waistband of my tights, which had collapsed and was heading south. And I was just effecting a repair when I got the call. And I thought, now what do? Do I repair my tights or do I get going? And I thought, no, sod it. I'm an English teacher. It's not as if I'm going to be running around a playing field all day. I'm going to be sitting in a classroom. I shall get going. And off I went down the A70 in order to go and teach English, language and literature. Oh yes, if you want somebody to manipulate your colon or probe your passage to India, I am your woman. And then when I get to the school, the deputy head meets me. Now, it's always a woman who deals with supply teachers. Male deputy heads have more important things to deal with, like organising the staff room Tiddlywinks tournament. So she greets me and she goes, "Oh, hello, Mrs. Shed. Mrs. Shed." They always get my name wrong. In the last few months, I've been Mrs. Stoat, Mrs. Spoon, and even Mrs. Shovel. "Oh, Mrs. Shed," she said, "we're so pleased that you could come. We didn't think we were going to be able to get a PE specialist at such short notice." I said, "A PE specialist? A PE specialist?" "Yes," she said, "Mr. Barnett has gone on a conference to learn how to apply Key Stage 3 benchmarking statements to hurling the javelin. We're so pleased you could step into the breach." Well now, I have spent the whole of my adult life trying to avoid physical exercise. If ever I feel the urge, I lie down in a darkened room until it passes. I am an English teacher. I do reading and writing. I do not do sweaty, grunty things. But by now it was too late. So she takes me over to the gym and introduces me to the head of PE. Oh, Nike tracksuit, New Balance trainers, arse like a split grapefruit. And I am standing there before her, 57, asthmatic and dressed like an estate agent. I could see she was unimpressed. And she turned her back on me and started talking to her deputy about gymnastics moves. And she only turned back to me to give me my timetable for the day. And this whistle. And that was how I found myself refereeing a football match, all on my own, with 30 12-year-old boys. And the last time I ran for a bus was in 1973. I have never knowingly seen a football match. I wouldn't know the offside rule from a line out. But I thought, well, in for a penny, in for a pound. So I blew my whistle. I said, "Off you go then, lads." And nothing happened. And 30 boys stared at me. And then Callum said, "Miss, would it be a good idea now if we got into 2 teams?" I said, "Yes, excellent, take a merit point." And then Jordan said, "Miss, usually we play with a football. Shall I go and get one?" And I said, "Excellent idea," so he went to get one. My contribution to the event was to say, "I tell you what, boys, how would it be if you pretend to be famous footballers for the duration of the match?" And they liked this, and this is why we had 5 David Beckhams, several John Terrys, and a couple of unnamed Premiership footballers whom I can now reveal to be Ryan Giggs. Thank you. There was a George Best, of course, and Ronnie O'Sullivan, whatever team he plays for, I don't know. And off we went. I ran, I use the term very loosely, up and down the pitch, almost as loose as my tights were by this point, in high-heeled boots, these high-heeled boots, a fitted skirt, and tights which were by now forming a tourniquet somewhere above my knees. I had no circulation below the waist. And this in full view of the main Cardiff to the Valleys railway line, which runs adjacent to the pitch. I did try and shout out helpful and appropriate comments, like, "Square ball! Square ball!" And, lads, would you like to get into a scrum? I didn't know what to do with the whistle, so I just blew it at intervals, randomly. Warrateg now, fair play, I did try and correct their grammar. But it's quite difficult, you see, when they're at one end of the pitch and you're at the other. "Shane!" I shouted. "It is not kiss the ball over here, you moron. It is, please may I obtain the ball, you moron." At the end of the match, as we were going back to the changing rooms, Cristiano Ronaldo said to me, he said, Miss, he said, are you a proper PE teacher? And there was enough uncertainty in his voice that made me think I might just have got away with it. And I said, and for that cheek, Cristiano, you can do 2 laps around the pitch. Go on, get on with it. Do you know, it's at days like that I think the only way I'm going to get up in the morning with a smile on my face is if I go to bed with a coat hanger in my mouth. Last week I saw a job advertised. They were looking for a committed teacher. Any more days like that, and I will need to be. Well, thank you for listening. I am, of course, Ruth Shade. Hwyl fawr.